Welcome to our channel, EL Fluency Tale, your way to learn English fluently. Today, we will discuss the story of William Shakespeare. In a small market town called Stratford-upon-Avon, nestled along the River Avon in England, a boy was born in April 1564. His name was William Shakespeare, a name that would one day echo through centuries, stages, classrooms, and hearts. At the time, no one could have imagined that this boy, the son of a glove maker, would become the most celebrated playwright and poet the world has ever known. But every legend begins in obscurity. John Shakespeare, William's father, was a respectable tradesman and once held public office, but his fortunes waned as debts piled up. William's mother, Mary Arden, came from a noble line, yet even her legacy couldn't shield them from hardship. Despite the financial struggles, young William grew up in a house filled with tales, local legends, and the echoes of church sermons. Words became his earliest companions. He likely attended the local grammar school, where he would have studied Latin, rhetoric, and classical literature. Imagine the young boy, wide-eyed, reciting lines from Ovid and Seneca, never realizing he would one day rival them in fame. But life was not easy. At 18, William married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years his senior. Within a year, they had their first daughter, Susanna, and later twins, Hamnet and Judith. The burden of responsibility fell heavily on young William's shoulders. But life was not easy. At 18, William married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years his senior. Within a year, they had their first daughter, Susanna, and later twins, Hamnet and Judith. The burden of responsibility fell heavily on young William's shoulders. He could have remained in Stratford, a local businessman, perhaps taken over his father's glove-making trade. But something stirred in him, a restless fire, a longing not just to survive, but to create. By his early 20s, William had vanished from Stratford. Lost years, some call them. When he resurfaced, he was in London, miles away from the familiar rhythms of his hometown. The city was alive, a vibrant clash of classes, a hub of politics, and a boiling pot of culture. And at its heart was the stage. Theater in Elizabethan England wasn't yet the esteemed art form it is today. It was loud, bawdy, and energetic, attended by nobles and commoners alike. Imagine the young boy, wide-eyed, reciting lines from Ovid and Seneca, never realizing he would one day rival them in fame. But life was not easy. At 18, William married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years his senior. Within a year, they had their first daughter, Susanna, and later twins, Hamnet and Judith. The burden of responsibility fell heavily on young William's shoulders. His early plays, like Henry VI and Titus Andronicus, gained attention for their drama and flair. But it was Romeo and Juliet, the tale of star-crossed lovers, that captured the city's soul. With it, Shakespeare's rise began. As the years passed, he penned comedies that sparkled like gems, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Twelfth Night, and Much Ado About Nothing, where wit met wonder and love triumphed through chaos. Then came the histories, Richard III, Henry IV, and Henry V, where kings walked the line between power and peril, and war was poetry and horror alike. But it was in his tragedies that Shakespeare reached his zenith. With Hamlet, he questioned the nature of existence. To be or not to be was not merely a line, it was a mirror held up to mankind. In Othello, he painted the darkness of jealousy. In Macbeth, the thirst for power. King Lear broke hearts, tore apart illusions, and laid bare the human condition. What made Shakespeare extraordinary wasn't just his command of language, but his understanding of people. He wrote of dukes and jesters, lovers and murderers, kings and beggars, all with equal depth. His characters were not puppets of plot. They breathed, suffered, hoped, and fell. He saw into the soul of humanity and wrote what he saw. With success came stature. Shakespeare became a part owner of the Globe Theatre, a circular wooden building that became the center of London's theatrical world. Imagine the roar of the crowd, the stomp of feet on timber, the air thick with anticipation, and the first lines of Julius Caesar ringing out, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears." The Globe wasn't just a building, it was a kingdom, and Shakespeare was its king. Despite the fame, he never forgot Stratford. He purchased a large home there called New Place and invested in land. He returned often, walking the same streets where he once played as a boy. Yet he remained a man of mystery. No diaries, no letters, no confessions, only the plays, the sonnets, and the silence. In 1613, the Globe caught fire during a performance of Henry VIII. Though it was rebuilt, Shakespeare began to retreat from public life. He returned to Stratford permanently and wrote little in his final years. Perhaps the fire mirrored something within him, a chapter closing, a curtain drawing. He died in April 1616, just weeks after his 52nd birthday. The cause remains unknown, but his words lived on. His gravestone bears a simple epitaph, one he likely wrote himself. "Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones." Even in death, he had the last word. Today, Shakespeare's influence is incalculable. His words are quoted by presidents, poets, and pop stars. His plays are performed in every language on every continent. Every time a lover sighs, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" or a student ponders, "What's in a name?" Shakespeare lives again. He created over 1,700 words, from bedazzled to lonely. He painted love not as perfection, but as passion. He gave us villains with charm, heroes with flaws, and fools who spoke the truth. And above all, he proved that no background, no status, no origin defines greatness. From the son of a glove-maker rose the greatest writer the world has ever known. His life was not perfect. He made mistakes, faced struggles, lost a son, and lived in a time of plague and war. Yet he turned pain into poetry, loss into lines, and dreams into drama. So what can we learn from William Shakespeare? That talent is not born of birthright, but of passion and persistence. That words can shape worlds, that art endures long after applause fades. That no dream is too big, not even for a boy from Stratford. In a world that often chases speed and fame, Shakespeare reminds us of the power of depth and patience. He took his time, honed his craft, and trusted his voice. And in doing so, he changed the world. If ever you feel small or doubt your path, think of him, the man who wrote for the Globe yet touched the universe.